So now welcome to the SUPboarder review of the Hatha Aura. Now the Aura is a new board from Hatha. The board's really aimed for sort of fitness, yoga, lifestyle paddling, general cruising and all-round paddling. The specifications for this board is 10'4" long, 32 inches wide, it's 6 inches thick, gives it a volume of 317 litres. It weighs 9.8 kilograms, so it's a fairly lightweight board. It has a 2+1 fin setup, so that's where it's a bigger centre fin of 10-inch centre fin and 2 mini indestructible side fins, and it retails as a full package with a paddle at £625. Now Hatha are a UK based brand and they're still relatively new in the SUP world for a lot of people, but they have been making SUPs for a few years, and definitely the SUPs that we've seen over the few years, they have got a very good quality of product and they are gathering quite a following of suppers and respect in the industry. So they're definitely an up and coming brand that are making good products, and it's good to get hold of this board to give it a once over and see what we think. So the materials of this iSUP, as with all the other Hatha iSUPs, are the same. It's got an internal core drop stitch, it's got the military grade PVC, which I love the sound of, and then it's finished off with multiple layers of PVC, and it's in a fused technology as well, which most of the other top brands are at the moment. Then that makes the board relatively light and still very strong. The first thing you'll notice with this board is the full EVA deck pad. And it's not only just a full EVA deck pad, it's actually a very thick EVA deck pad, thicker than a lot of other boards that we've seen on the market. And obviously that's due to having a thicker deck pad gives you more comfort, a bit more grip maybe when you're doing your yoga and your fitness. And also having a nice full deck pad does mean you can use the full length of the board. So if you do find that you're doing sort of yoga maneuvers and you are getting further back to the board, it's still stable enough to do that, but it also gives you enough grip because you've still got the deck pad up at the back or up at the front there. It's got a small cargo area at the front there. Really that's just for sort of holding a drink and maybe a flip-flops, because you don't want to be putting your cargo back here so much, because then it'll be in the way when you're doing your fitness and your yoga. Other things that I've got on the front and the back, they've got carry handles or they're paddle holders. We actually found that we didn't need to use the paddle holders so much when we were doing some yoga because we weren't fixed, we weren't anchored down to the bottom, so we did have to paddle and move around, but we did find that the paddle was quite happy just sat across the front of the board, which is why we didn't use them. But they are there to be used. If you're fixed or tied up in a raft, you can easily put your paddle up at the front or at the back. It's got side carry handles which are really nice and stick out from the board, but obviously because they're at the side, they're not in the way when you're doing your yoga, which a central handle would do. The board also comes with a nice carry strap which clips onto the side of the board, either sides, and the D-rings are nice and out of the way so they don't get in the way when you paddle, which is good. And it's a well padded sort of neoprene backed carry strap, and it's also got extra clips there. You can add extra things and clip things on, and it's adjustable. Did find that a really nice thing to have, and it's going to be good to see that on some more Hatha boards. I think they're going to come out soon on some more boards too, but that is a nice system to have, and it's easy to carry. And again, without having the central carry handle, you do have to have something like that, unless your arms are very, very long or very, very short. So staying with the deck pad, there's a nice sort of floral pattern on the deck pad, and actually it does more than just look good. It has a centralizing point, so if you're doing your yoga and you're looking down all the time, you know where you are on your board. It's a nice little feature that shows they've really thought about the market that they're going to push this board into, and realize what you as a paddler or as a fitness paddler or a yoga paddler you would need. So that's a nice feature, we think. The actual look of the board is pretty spot on. I think it's a very good looking product, and it's really well finished with the deck pad and the colours, and even where the deck pad is cut in around the D-rings, around the cargo straps. It's a very good quality product from that sense, and it just looks really, really nice. The deck pad at the back is a different colour, and it's a diamond grip deck pad. That's a nice thing to have. Again, maybe you're still going to get this board and learn to do step back turns and stuff like that. That's nice to have that sort of different grip under your foot, so you know where your foot is. Another nice little feature that shows they've thought about the product and where they're putting things on the board. Got a leashing point at the back of the board, and it also comes with a standard the Hatha coiled 10-foot leash. Perfect leash to have for your yoga, because obviously you can still do it without getting in the way. And then if you did want to tie off your leash and not use it, the great thing about this is then you can tie it to the side carry handles, which then is still out the way enough for you to do your maneuvers. So that's another thing to bear in mind. But obviously bear in mind leashes and taking them off, just stay safe. Obviously I don't need to say that. Pressure gauge is really neatly built into the back of the EVA deck pad, which again shows a bit of the quality of the board. And the PSI range is 15 to 18 PSI with a max PSI pressure of 25, which sort of goes what I've said in a few videos ago, and I think I did it in a SUPboarder Pro video. I was talking about you can see the quality of a board when they show you how much the maximum PSI range they can put into the board, and show they've tested that board to that range. There you go, it goes to show they've put it on the website, so it's nice to know. When we put this board through our deflection test, as we do with all our iSUPs, remember our deflection test is where we put the board on a gap of 1.5 meters apart, and then we put 75 kilograms of weight in the center, and then we measure how much the board dropped, or the deflection of the board. This dropped 17 millimeters, which is exactly the same point as some other good quality 6-inch boards we've tested, and that was pumped up to 16 PSI. So you could pump it up more and have a stiffer board. So it's a very stiff, or it's a very competitive board for the stiffness and also for the price. So let's have a look at the paddle, pump and bag, and then we'll go over about the board on the water and what it felt like. So the paddle it comes with as the package is a 3-piece glass paddle. We've reviewed this paddle before on the Hatha Nino. It's the same base paddle except it's different color graphics. Nice that they put the sort of aqua color to go with the board with this package. Another thing, makes a little difference, makes it look better quality. Really nice thing to have. This paddle before we were pretty impressed with because it's a fairly stiff, it's not super light. This is a glass paddle with a plastic blade. It's got an ABS edge, so it's really strong, and it's going to take those knocks on the beach and the rocks, maybe if the kids are using it and stuff. It's got quite a scoot paddle blade, so it's not super efficient, but it is easy to use because it holds the water in the center of the paddle, so when you're getting into paddleboarding it's very easy to use. But the real nice thing about this, obviously it's an adjustable paddle, so you can slide up and down. The adjust system is fairly stiff on the top there, and it doesn't twist, and you can tighten it up if you want to. And it breaks down, goes in the bag, has a push pin here that comes out in the top section, and then you can even take that top section out like this. So there's your 3-piece paddle. The great thing about this paddle, and especially for the price and the package, which we said before in another video, is the top section goes in the bottom section like that, and then you can make yourself a little kiddie paddle. So a lot of people are getting this sort of board, maybe have got families, got kids. That's another great thing to have to get the kids on the water and get them enthused in paddleboarding. Definitely worth a mention and noting that as a good part of the product. So the pump it comes with is the same pump it comes with the other boards. It's a 2-way pump. Now remember what I mean by that is it pumps on the upstroke and on the downstroke, so it gets quite a lot of air in the board for the size of the pump because you're using it obviously 2 times. But then when the pumping gets hard and the pressure starts building up on the board, you want to turn it over to pump 1 way, so you're just pushing down and pushing the air in, and there's a lever valve here which you can do that. This pump's made by Bravo, which are a top pump company. We've actually got an electric pump we're going to test from them very soon. It shows the quality of that brand. It's got a built-in pressure gauge here which goes up to 28 PSI, so the pump has a huge range. Obviously this board is a fairly big volume, being 317 litres. But you are going to be able to pump the board up easily to the 15, 18, 20 PSI if you want to, but it is going to take a little bit longer than the really big fat cylinder pumps, but then it doesn't weigh very much in the bag, so that's definitely something you've got to offset to the size of the pump. Now talking about the bag, Hatha make actually a very good quality bag for the price point of SUP that they make. Sort of things I mean is like they print the actual board brand, the board model down on the side of the bag. That sort of doesn't make a difference to the bag, but it just looks good and it really shows the quality that they're trying to get out through the product. And there's no other brand out there that really prints and takes their time, and it costs money to do that sort of thing. So that sort of shows what they're trying to achieve with the sort of styling of the bag and the styling of the board. It's got a different sort of, it's got an opening sack at the top which you clip down with clips, then it's got a full zip which opens right around and you open your bag out that way. It's a very easy to get the board in, and actually if your board's a bit bigger than normal and you haven't rolled it up very well, it's very easy to get a bigger board in too. It's then got the built-in wheels at the bottom, which is great, so you want to go on holiday. Clips on the sides, you can make the board bag smaller, handles at the top. Looking at the back of the bag, you've got nicely padded backpack straps, a nicely padded waist strap, and also the back of the bag where it sits on your back is padded as well. And this also comes apart, and then you can take your backpack straps and shove them behind the back of the bag, giving you a flat surface. So then if you're traveling on holiday and airports, they don't get caught on machinery and stuff that get moved around the airport. So that's a nice thing to have. But really the bag is a very good sign of the quality of package you get with a lot of boards, and we judge this off a lot of boards. But this, I really like the bag, and I like the quality of the bag, and I think it really stands out well for the price point of the package. So looking at the bottom of the board, it's finished off with grey PVC. It's got a nice Hatha logo in the bottom, in the middle there. Then at the back of the board, you've got your 2+1 fin setup. Remember, that means that there's a big center fin and 2 mini side fins. Nice how the fins are all finished off with a purple PVC around the fins, so it gives it a good look. The fin it comes with, the center fin it comes with, is an FCS2 fin. It's a 10-inch fin, so it's nice and big, really easy paddling in a straight line. And this fin system is a push-in and clip-back fin system, the quickest fin system to get in the world, and it's definitely very easy to use, and it's going to get you on the water super fast. So what's the Hatha Aura like on the water? Well, being 10'4" long and 32 inches wide, it's that sort of dream size that most people want to get into the sport with, and most all-round paddlers want to paddle most of the time. 32 wide is wide enough to do your sort of yoga, fitness maneuvers. I'm not a yoga expert, but Lucy was doing a bit of yoga and found it absolutely fine to do the sort of sequence of maneuvers that you would do when you were doing your yoga. Stuff I really like about the board, because it's still got a nice big center fin, it's very easy to paddle in a straight line. You're still going to be able to learn to do step back turns on this. You can even catch some waves on this, and it's still going to be great for the whole family. Paddling this board on the flat, obviously it's not super quick. It's not as quick as a sort of longer, skinnier baseboard, but you're still going to be able to paddle down the river, down the canals, and put some miles underneath your feet on this board too. So it's not just a yoga fitness board, but it's also a happy lifestyle light cruising board too. Size of paddlers, well, 50 kilos, even less maybe if you want to do yoga, it doesn't really matter, up to about 110 kilos for paddling it. Maybe if you were doing yoga and you're a bit heavier, you want to be looking at a slightly wider board again. But because this is 6 inches thick, it does offer you a good amount of stiffness for the board in the water. Just remember, when you have a thicker board, you're going to get more stiffness overall than a 4-inch thick board at the same pressure. So if you pump this board up to 20 psi, it's going to be way stiffer than a 4-inch thick board at 20 psi. So just bear that in mind, definitely if you're looking into getting an iSUP for the first time. So to summarise with pros and cons and value for money, the pros, well, it is a great looking product that's finished very well. Good deck pad, really nicely finished around all the fixtures and fittings, around the bungees. Great to have the handles and the extra shoulder carry strap and your paddle holders. Somebody getting into yoga, fitness will really like this board, and obviously the size and width of the board and the thickness really is excellent for that sort of thing. Cons, well, the only thing you're going to have to look out for is the fin. Now, I personally love these fins, and I love the FCS2 Connect system, very easy to do, and I personally haven't had a problem with it. But sometimes they do fall out if you're pushing the board backwards or you go backwards against a rock. Now, I'm just saying this is something you're going to have to be aware of. I said again, I haven't had a problem with this, but I know some people who may be pushing boards backward off the beach, it knocks out and then it can come loose. So just be aware of that. Maybe if you're having the kids play on it, take the fin off, just let them play with the 2 center fins. So it might not be a negative, but it's definitely something at SUPboarder we think you should be aware of if you buy any board with an FCS2 Connect fin. Now, value for money, well, it's £625 as a package. It's a very competitive price point, and you get a lot of board for your money. Definitely not as expensive as the $850, $1,000 price point boards, and it's not as cheap as sort of 300, 400 euro price point boards. It does sit in the middle of it. It's definitely worth the money. You get a very good quality board that's made well, and a good bag and nice paddle for that package price. So there we go. Hope you found that SUPboarder review interesting and informative. This board sort of goes to show us that Hatha really are gathering momentum as a main player in the iSUP world. Definitely worth a look at if you want to get a lifestyle paddling board, a yoga based board at a very competitive value price point.